Hey there, we're doing end-to-end deployment of Open VPN. So let's hit that up. Hey there, everybody, it's Tom with Tom's Tech Show, and today we're going to be covering Open VPN. So if you want to be able to connect into your network at home, you're away, you have your computer with you, your iPad or your iPhone, and you want to be able to get a file, you want to be able to get maybe pictures stored at home on a network drive or on a computer, and you want to be able to do that securely, then OpenVPN might be a way to go. I mean, if you want to maybe even stream media to a remote location wherever you are, given you have enough upload bandwidth, then OpenVPN would get you to your network and be able to allow you to do that. So the way I'm going to deploy this this is OpenVPN, openvpn.net. That's the website. I'll let you download it. What I'm going to be doing is this computer that I have here has a lot of memory. So I'm going to use VirtualBox to just deploy a virtualized package that's already set up. So it makes it really quick and easy. So if you have a computer at home that you can leave on all the time, that has 8 gigs of memory at least, then you can download the Oracle VirtualBox package, install that, and be able to run the OpenVPN on that. So which is what we're going to do. So I've already done it once, so we're going to use kind of this for our demo purposes today. All right, so when you go to OpenVPN, here's this little button that says Get OpenVPN, and it takes you through different things. There's the OpenVPN client, which is what you need on your devices in order to connect to everything and be able to connect to your networks. Then there are different packages. So if you have a Linux box at home, you can already install it that way. But what we're going to be doing today is downloading this VMware ESX. It's an OVA, it's a virtualization appliance that just allows you to just do a couple of clicks, install it, and then go. There's also, if you want to pay for AWS, Azure, Oracle, you can, do that and deploy it in the cloud. But we're talking about home use right now. So the VMware ESX package is what we're going to be using. So I already have that downloaded. So to make things a little quicker, so I need to go File and do in Oracle VirtualBox File Import Appliance. So I'm just going to go to my downloads, and there's right there. That's the Oracle or the Open Virtualization Format Archive, 800 meg. I click Open, click Next. We're just going to go and click Import, and then it's going to run a few things. Copy some files, and be done pretty quickly. So this is the handiness of these virtualization packages. So now we have this OpenVPN access server. I need to edit some settings because I think one of these settings is off. If you are in VirtualBox, down here at the bottom, it'll tell you what's wrong. The virtual machine is configured to use the wrong graphics driver. So I just click Display. It wants me to use the VM SVGA driver. And then my little warning goes off, and I'm good. I click Start. Okay. Then we get a little box. So this is actually the computer, this virtualized computer, right, booting onto our desktop here. So we're going to be running an operating system inside an operating system. So it takes a couple of minutes here. Okay. So we log in as root. And I do believe it's OpenVPN AS, which it is. Okay, so the first time you run this, it starts a configuration tool. So first thing, of course, is to agree to their license agreement, which we have to click yes. Will this be a primary access server? So we can pick the default here, which is yes. Okay, so then it says, please specify the network interface and IP address to be used in the main web interface. So it's just easiest and best to say the default, which is 1, which is all. Specify the port. We're just going to do this as the default port. The TCP/IP port is going to also be the default port. We can just some defaults of these. Should client traffic be routed by default through the VPN? So this is a question that you need to ask. And this is kind of an important question. So if I am at a coffee shop and I just want to get to my files, then we would enter no to this question and let our regular traffic, like if you're browsing the web or something, you can let that traffic go out the coffee shop internet connection. If we say yes, that we route all traffic through the VPN, then all the traffic, no matter what we're doing, is going to go over the VPN and appear to be like you're at your house. So I do this actually sometimes when I'm doing banking. So if I don't want to appear that I'm at some other location, like if we're in Mexico or something like that, I don't want the bank to know that I'm out of the country. I will VPN into my home and then be able to do my banking and not have it say, oh, you're out of the country, you're not a normal location where we think you usually are, and go through a huge verification process. So you have to know which way you want to go. Do you want your default web traffic to go out the network that you're on locally, or do you want all that sent to your house or to the VPN and be able to access and have it look like you're at home? Okay, so I typically say yes, send all traffic through, because that just seems to be a better thing, make things look like I'm at my house. Okay. Yes. Click go. Okay. So use local authentication via internal database. So we're not going to be connecting this to anything. We're not a corporate network. We're not anything. We're just going to use the local users that are there. Should private subnets be accessible to client by default? So these are the subnets. So here it shows me my private subnet is 192.168.1.0/24. So that's all the IP addresses from 1 to 255 in that range, because it's a class C network. Should those be accessible? Well, if that's what we're trying to do, right, we're trying to get to stuff at our house or this network we're trying to get to, then yes, we would want it to be accessible. Okay, so the initial login to the web UI, you must use a username and password that successfully authenticates you with the host Unix system. You can later modify the settings so that Radius or LDAP, we're not going to use either of those. You can log into the admin web UI as Open VPN or specify a different user account. So this is just going to be a simple setup. So yes, we're just going to use Open VPN as the user. You might want to change that, because if people know they know that the default username for OpenVPN servers is OpenVPN, then they're already going to know the username. So you would want to change that. If you're not doing a demo, you're doing something that's, create your own kind of administration username. But right here for this example, we're just going to leave it. Okay, specify an activation key. We're not going to use an activation key. We're only going to use the demo mode, which is 2 users. Okay, then it runs through a bunch of stuff. It gets the profile set up, adds the users, specifies all of that. Starting, okay, now we're at a command prompt here. So we said we're going to use OpenVPN as the user, but we have to give OpenVPN a password. Okay, so that password has been updated successfully. We are good to go. So that's all the steps that you have to do inside of the VirtualBox little piece here, inside the command line and stuff. So once we get to that, I'm going to start my other one, because I already have some things set up here in the other box. Okay, so you're going to have to do some other things as well. You're going to have to change some ports on your router. So you need a router that will allow you to set specific ports. It needs to be able to do port forwarding. So that's something, while that is coming up, we can go to. Let's go here. Okay. All right, so go advanced setup. This is where my router has the setup under port forwarding and port triggering. So we need to have port 1194 forwarded, port 443 forwarded, and port 953 forwarded. So those are the 3 ports that we need, and we need to be able to set those up in the router. Your router may differ from how this one's set up, but there should be a good instruction manual online about how to set those up. Typically, as you're adding a service, giving it a name and the ports that you want to forward, and you want these 3 to forward to this new computer that you've set up. Okay. So here we go. Now we've got this computer, this Open VPN access server. We do Open VPN as the user and my password. So it immediately drops you from the base login to this area where you can download the client software that you want to use for connecting. But we're going to click here, admin. So we're going to go to the admin page. And slide into the administration page. So here they're giving you some basic information, but what we want to do is come down here to network settings. Now, if you're going to use an actual SSL certificate, then this will need to be the host name of your network that you're going to set up. So you need to be doing some DNS things. So if you don't have a domain name that you've purchased, then you're going to have to just leave it as the IP address, and when you connect, it's going to give you an error for the certificate. So just know that if you have a DNS entry, a domain name that you own, then create a DNS entry like this one, vpn.tomstechshow.com, and set that up so that this is here, because then we're going to go and get an actual SSL certificate at one point during this setup. Okay, so for users, we go to user permissions, and there's different permissions that you can have. Like here's just a regular user. This is the administration user. If you click the edit, then it drops you to where you can change the access and everything for that user. If you do make any changes and save it down at the bottom, it'll ask you to post that to the server. So if I made any changes here and you'd come down the bottom, click save. It says update. It'll say update server on the top. Here we can just change this really quick and then change it back. So because when you come in here, it's going to have this IP address. And anytime you make a change, you have to make sure to click the update running server, and then it's going to post that to the system. So if you don't have a domain name, then you'll need to leave this as the IP address. Like I said, when you connect, you're going to get an SSL error, but if you want to buy a domain name and then be able to set it up, then you can do that. I'm going to use a domain name, so save settings, update running server. Okay, so now we need to come down to web server, and down here on the web server we can see that we need to get a certificate, and certificates come in 3 pieces. There's the bundle for the certificate provider, there's the certificate that we're going to use for this box, and there's the private key that doesn't go anywhere. So all these have to match. So where do I get one of those? Well, we all know there's there's an app out here called ZeroSSL. Now, there's a free, what is it? What's the SSL? Gosh. I'm going to have to look it up and cut this out. Let's encrypt. Oh my gosh, kill me now. Boop. Okay, so there is a free, service out there called Let's Encrypt that allows you to get certificates for 90 days, and many of those websites that use that automatically updates it every 90 days, so you always get a new certificate every 90 days. Well, here there's a site called ZeroSSL, which allows you to use a similar Let's Encrypt system that allows you to get an SSL certificate that's good for 90 days. So it's free. The problem is you have to come back once every 3 months. So that's really only 4 times a year that you have to come back and update it. So that really isn't bad. I mean, you pay bills every month, so every 3 months you can come back and get an SSL certificate. It's extremely simple. You click New Certificate, you enter your domain, and like that, click Next Step, get a 90-day certificate, auto-generate the CSR, next step, say yes, selected the free one, click Next Step. So this is pretty next so far. Comes back, you have to have a verification email sent to one of these email addresses. So you need to have your domain with email set up. So this is you have to have a few things. If you have a website, then it makes it a lot easier because you have most of these things already set. Then after you do the verification, then it goes to this issued thing and you click install and it downloads the certificate to your computer in a zip file. Now, in the Open VPN, you extract the zip file, which I have downloads. Here it is, the zip file. And this comes in 3 different things. There's bundle, certificate, and private key, which oddly enough matches the bundle, the certificate, and the private key. So we just click this, choose the bundle, click the next one, choose the certificate, click the next one, choose the private key. You can click validate. It says validate, there's no errors. And then click save that to the server. You now have an SSL certificate that is on the web server. So yes, you do need to have a domain name and you need to have email on that. You can just do like a lot of domain names will allow you to do some simple forwarding of emails. So you can forward, your webmaster email and stuff to your main email address. That works fine. So now we have all this set up. So let's review our configuration here really quick. Okay, so our network settings, we have VPN Tom's Tech Show as our network setting. We have our web server SSL certificate, which matches. So it's from ZeroSSL. This is it. We've got a hash, we've got a fingerprint, we got all these things going on. We have users. So I have my user that I'm going to use to connect. In my router, I have VPN 1194, 443, and 953 ports all forwarded into this computer on the network. So we have all of these pieces done and ready to go. Okay. So next thing is to get the app and put the app onto your iPad. So here's the app. Very simple. If you look at it, the icon is this little, the little Open VPN icon, which shows right there, Open VPN. We're going to hit that. Boom, it opens. So what we need to do next is, it says import profile. So right here, it's going to say import profile. get this to where you can see it. So it says URL import profile, and there's an HTTPS there. So then I told it that my connection was vpn.tomstechshow.com. So vpn.tomstechshow.com. I put that into that connection, and it goes through and it asks me next it asks me for my username and my password. Okay, so, and I click import. And boom, now here, if you can see here, maybe I should dim the iPad a little bit, might help. Here, you can see I have a VPN profile that's here on the iPad. I tap it, enter my password, hit OK, and within a couple of seconds, it now comes up and it starts showing me that I have data going across on my iPad. So my iPad is connected to cellular, so it's not actually connected to my network, but now it is connected to my network. So if I go to my browser, bring up Google, and what we can do on Google is type my IP, and the Google knows, oh, you must be looking for your IP address. And I look at what the IP address is on the iPad, and it's not my cellular connection IP address, it's the IP address of my local network is what the internet sees on as where I'm coming from on the network. So there it is. That's end to end. And all this was, since I have a domain, it's all been set up with SSL and working and functioning as it should. So you don't get any warning errors about SSL certificates. Like I said, if you don't have a domain and you don't want to use that, the IPsec tunnel will be encrypted, but it won't be verified that it's who you're talking to. So you have to make sure it's making sure that your IP address that you're connected to is correct, and that no one's like spoofed you or hijacked you or done a man-in-the-middle attack or anything like that. So it is better to do it with a domain name and all that stuff all set up. Okay, one other little point that I need to make is that routers in your house may not always have the same IP address. Some change every day. Mine only changes when I get a new router, so that's kind of handy. My Netgear router does have a dynamic DNS built into it, so whenever the IP address of my router changes, it automatically updates a domain name that's out on the internet. So that's whatever you configure it to be, yourname.mynetgear.com will update all the time. So in order to get this VPN at tomstechshow.com to work, I did a DNS record called a CNAME, which kind of forwards this VPN Tom's Tech Show to the Netgear dynamic DNS name, which then forwards to the IP address of the router. So that gets a little, complicated if you're doing a lot of that, but it's pretty much basically you need to create a CNAME with this to your dynamic DNS name, which points to the IP address of your router. So if you have any questions about that, just let me know and we'll go through it a little bit more, kind of set it up. But that's how you get the domain stuff to work. If you're not using a domain, you're just going to use the IP address, then all this stuff doesn't apply to you. Okay. All right. So that's setting it up from end to end. I use it all the time. Like I said, when we're in Mexico, I often connect in to pull video files down and different things over the hotel Wi-Fi, and am able to do my banking and things like that so that it thinks I'm from the US, actually from my house. It looks like I'm coming from my house. So I think it's a lot more secure than trying to do something over a hotel Wi-Fi in another country. So that's primarily why I've had it set up. All right. So there you go. That's it. Thanks for watching this and getting all the way to the end. If you have any questions about how this is set up or anything about it, just feel free to comment and we'll get you through it and get you all set up if you want to be able to do this. And thanks for watching. Remember to support all of your local smaller, YouTube channels, because we don't get all the attention that all the big channels do. So just like, share, subscribe, all the videos that you can for all your little favorite YouTube channels. We all appreciate it. I know that. All right. Thanks for watching. Take care.